Have you ever flown with your backpack or even just wondered about the logistics of what that would be like if you're going to go out and hike a backpacking trail that requires you to use air travel to your destination? We're going to talk about that today. I personally am getting ready to jump on a plane from Denver to Long Beach in just a few days and go hike the Trans-Catalina Trail. I'm going to escape winter and get out and enjoy some sunshine for a few days. I know that a lot of you are really itching to get out and go backpacking yourselves. So if you need to get on a plane and you don't know what goes in my carry-on, what should I check, what do I have to leave at home, I'm going to cover all of that in today's video right now. The first time I had to travel with my backpack on a plane was when I was hiking the Appalachian Trail, and I found out in the middle of that hike that a family member needed heart surgery, and so I booked it to Harper's Ferry, took a train to DC, and then jumped on a plane. I didn't know the best way to pack my pack or to prepare my pack, so I did a lot of research, and the best thing that I could come up with in a pinch was to turn everything inside out. So basically you take your pack and you take your hip belt and flip it around to the other side so it's nice and tight, and you make sure that your straps are even flipped over if you can, just to keep everything as secure as possible so it doesn't get caught on things like the conveyor belt. When I got home, I discovered that I did have a broken clasp on the chest strap, and thankfully I could get a replacement from Granite Gear. They were wonderful to work with. I learned a lot of lessons after that about not only how to prepare my pack to be sent in checked baggage, but also what I could carry on, what to check, and what to not even take at all. So all these tips are for travel in the US, so if you are coming and going from the United States, or if you're traveling within another country, you will want to check those specific regulations. I am citing TSA regulations that are current as of the time that I've made this video, but they can change, and airlines may also have specific requirements. If you want to travel with your backpack, you can take it as a carry-on as long as it fits in those ever-shrinking carry-on bins. However, there are some things that you can't carry on that you would need to check or ship ahead. I find that it's easiest to just actually check my bag, even though for some airlines that costs, $30, $35 or so. It's well worth it for me for the security of knowing that I'm not going to try to go through TSA with something that is considered at the discretion of the TSA agent and potentially lose some of my expensive backpacking gear. You can carry on your pack, you could send some things ahead, but then when you get to town, you're gonna have to track that down. Not the easiest thing to do if all you wanna do is just get off the plane, hop in an Uber, get to the trailhead, and start hiking. There are a few options that you can do to protect that pack beyond doing what I did the first time around, which is just flip everything around and tighten up all the straps and hope for the best. The first thing that I hear people recommend, and this is a very inexpensive option, but it's not foolproof, and that is to go to the airline check-in counter and ask them if they can provide you with a stroller bag or a car seat bag. And what these are is a large, clear plastic bag that you can throw your pack in and seal it up. And that is heavy duty enough that it will typically protect your pack while it's traveling through the conveyor belts and on the carts and that sort of thing to get you to your destination. However, one problem that you might find is if you get to the airport and the airline does not have any of those available, or if they want to reserve them for people who are checking strollers and that sort of thing. I've heard of that happening where people can't get a bag and then you have to go to another airline and ask them if they can please give you one, which they may or may not do if you're not flying with them. And unfortunately, if you can't get one, then your backpack is not going to be protected for your travels. A better option would be to get a hold of one of those large black contractor trash bags. They're also very heavy duty and probably about the same weight as the stroller bag, but you can have it with you when you go to the airport. You can use a zip tie and even a reusable zip tie if your trip is just going to be, a week or two and you just want to carry that bag with you and have it to go home again at the end of your trip. If you're going on a longer trip like the AT or the PCT, then you could just discard that bag and get a new one when you're ready to go home. Another downside of the clear bag is that if you are concerned about somebody seeing what is inside and being tempted to take your backpack and all its expensive contents while that is going around on the conveyor belt waiting for you to pick it up, then I would definitely opt for the black bag. Either one of those options might get ripped open by the equipment, or it might be cut open by TSA if there's something in your pack that raises concern and they want to get inside. And then you could potentially be in a situation where they don't replace that plastic and you don't have protection for your pack. This can also happen if you use one of those kind of shrink wrap machines that you see in some airports. That shrink wrap could also get cut off and then your pack is just exposed. A moderately priced option that I prefer is to actually get an inexpensive duffel bag and put all the contents of my pack inside that to be checked, then unpack it and pack up my backpack when I get in. And the second time I traveled, I actually just ordered a cheap duffel from Amazon. I was spending an overnight in a city before I actually went back to the trailhead. So I just took that bag after I had my pack already. I spent the night at the hotel, and then I asked the desk clerk if they could just donate it to somebody because it was a brand new bag. I didn't want to waste it, but it was only like a $15 bag on Amazon, so it wasn't so expensive that I was concerned about getting rid of it. And because I was not doing the Appalachian Trail, I did not want to have to carry that bag with me for, potentially another few months of hiking. So you can pick up a cheap bag at your local thrift store and just discard it when you get to your destination. Or you could buy a pack cover, which is made for air travel. Now, these are available through companies like REI. Osprey, Deuter makes one. 𝐓𝐡𝐢𝐬 makes one that's very light. It's only about 3 ounces, but it's just got a side carry handle and a roll top. When you use that roll top, it leaves a gap that could get caught on the conveyors or the other equipment that they use to transport baggage. So I don't feel like that design is the best. Sit, 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 sit. Okay, good boy. The design that I have found that I like best is actually a duffel by IKEA. They call it a storage duffel, and it costs about 10 bucks. Come on, buddy, you gotta move. It's blue. It's made of kind of a plasticized ripstop fabric like you see in some reusable shopping bags these days. And it's got a zipper closure, which I find is nice because you can actually loop something through that zipper to make sure that it stays closed. You can use the carry handles if you want to just carry it in your hand, but what I really like about it is it's got straps on the back that you can actually carry it as a backpack. So you don't have to walk into the airport with your backpack and then situate everything once you get ready to check in, because that can just be kind of a crazy time. I have that all ready and packed up before I even go to the airport. I throw it on my back, I walk into the check-in line, and I drop my bag, and then I take my carry-on and I go on to check in through TSA. What I use for a carry-on is a really lightweight day pack that I've had for years. It's made by 𝐶2Summit. It packs up real small, just this big, into its own little case that's attached as part of the bag, but I actually use it as my clothing bag when I am backpacking, and that way I have a little backpack that I can use as a day pack if I want to slack pack, if I need to go into town for groceries and that sort of thing. And it serves me very well as a carry-on when I'm traveling. If you're not subscribed yet, I hope you'll take a minute just to hit that button below and join my community. And if you're already subscribed, thank you for being with me, and I hope that you will share this video with anybody else you think could benefit from these tips about flying with your backpack. So what are the sort of things that you want to keep in your carry-on? There are a few things that you can't check, like a lighter with lighter fluid in it or safety matches. And power banks are also restricted these days because of the lithium batteries in them. So you want to make sure if you've got a backup power bank like an Anker or a Nitecore, that goes in your carry-on as well. The stove is one of a couple of items, an umbrella being the other, that you technically could carry on, but you don't want to have problems when you're going through with a specific TSA agent is not sure if they're allowed. If they're using their discretion, it's possible they could take those away from you, so I find that it's better to just put them in my checked baggage. Now, there are a few things that you probably want to put in your carry-on for comfort. Of course, you want to have your wallet, your ID, your keys, that sort of thing. You want your phone. You want to have your phone chargers to be able to charge while you're waiting at the airport, particularly if you get delayed. I always like to have some snacks, and I empty out my water bottle. I may come to the airport with some water, but I empty it out before I go through TSA so I don't have to discard it. And then I can fill it up with water on the other side, and I can stay hydrated on the flight. You can carry on some of your liquid items just like you would for any flight, as long as they are below the threshold, which I think right now is 3.4 liquid ounces. You can carry on a little bottle of alcohol if the airline allows it. You can carry on some toiletries. If you're concerned about possibly losing or having a luggage delay and you might have to stay overnight, you might want to carry some of those things on. But I go pretty minimalist because I don't carry those things backpacking. I don't carry much shampoo, conditioner, that sort of thing. So I just keep the minimal amount of stuff in my day pack. I might have socks, my jacket, or my fleece or something like that to keep me warm. So I take my backpack and I kind of deconstruct it. I take my quilt and I wrap it around my trekking poles just to give them some extra padding. And I organize it for travel versus organizing it for backpacking, because when I get to the airport and I pick up my bag, I can easily just grab a seat, repack everything the way I want it to be to take my hike. And I can actually take the things that are in my carry-on, restructure that so that I'm ready to just throw in my pack, grab my poles, and go. So what are the things that I'm checking? I mentioned my quilt, my trekking pole, basically all of my backpacking gear except those few items that I need in my day pack are going into that duffel. Some of the things that are required to be checked are the trekking poles. They are not allowed to be carried on. Your knife, of course, you can't take on a plane. Anything sharp, so your tent stakes, if you use a tent that's got tent poles, those are typically restricted. Again, they might be up to the discretion of the TSA agent, but you don't want to take a chance on losing them because then you can't set up your tent. So better to just put that in the bag along with the majority of your food, and then you'll have everything there for you when you land at your destination. If you're going someplace for a cold weather backpacking trip, you might be carrying things like crampons or micro spikes and ice axe. Same goes for that. It can be considered a weapon. So basically anything that you could use to hit somebody or hurt somebody has to go in your checked bag unless it's something that's prohibited completely. There are 3 items specifically for backpackers that you can't take at all, and those are bear spray, which might be surprising. So if you want to take bear spray, you're going to have to get that when you get to your destination, along with isobutane fuel, the little fuel canisters. You can't check that, you can't carry that on, so you'll have to get that when you get to your destination. And then if you're using a stove with some other kind of alternative fuel, liquid fuels are just not allowed. So you're going to have to get your fuel and bear spray if you want it when you get to where you're going. If you're going someplace where it's warm and sunny and there might be bugs and you want to take some aerosol bug spray or aerosol sunscreen, those will also need to go into your checked bag and not your carry-on. There are a few things you might be wondering about. Maybe those hand warmers that are activated when you expose them to the air. Those can be carried on or go in your checked baggage. If you do have rechargeable hand warmers, they're probably going to have a lithium battery in them, so they can't be checked, and you would have to put those into your carry-on. Other things that you might want to put in your carry-on include high-value items, like a GPS device if you've got one of those. If you have a map or guidebook, you might want to bring that in your carry-on just so you can study it at your leisure on the flight. You might also want to just take in some videos and that sort of thing if you're going to be out in the woods for a while, so that's up to you. And anything else that you have that's high value or that you might want to have handy when you land, perhaps a headlamp. If it's a rechargeable headlamp and you're not sure what type of battery is in it, then go ahead and throw that in your carry-on just so you don't have any problems with your checked bag. And if you're not sure, just check the TSA website as you're getting ready for your trip. And I hope that wherever you're going for your next trip, that you have a wonderful time.